What happens when a kind, middle-aged man tries to help struggling strangers online, only to uncover a well-oiled machine that feeds on generosity? The moment he spoke up, everything turned upside down, and not just for him. You know how some folks just can't walk past a sad story without opening their wallet? That was me. A retired mailman from Indianapolis with too much heart and, clearly, not enough suspicion. My daughter once called me the human version of a GoFundMe, and I wore that like a badge of honor. Until the badge started to feel more like a target. It started on a Tuesday morning, cold as a banker's heart. I was sipping reheated Folgers, scrolling through Facebook like I always do before my crossword. That's when I saw it. A post from a young woman named Emily T. She claimed she'd been evicted after her mother had a stroke. The photo was textbook heartbreak. Red eyes, grocery store apron, and a scrawny orange tabby with a paw on her shoulder like it knew sorrow. Her caption read, "Anything helps, sir. I'm scared. And let me tell you, I've been around the block, delivered mail in every kind of neighborhood. But that photo? It tugged at me. Maybe it was this sir. Maybe it was the cat." I clicked donate and sent $50. Not a fortune, but enough to feel useful. Good deed for the day, I figured. I even shared the post with my weekly poker group, 6 guys who knew me better than my own brother. Within days, she'd raised over $2,000. Ripple of kindness, I told myself. Like those old commercials about paying it forward. That should have been the end of it. Only it wasn't. 2 days later, I'm drinking coffee, and there it is, another fundraiser. Different name. Same girl. Same cat. Same damn apron. Different sob story. This time, she said she'd lost her job because of a car accident. I nearly spilled my coffee. I opened both posts side by side, zoomed in until the pixels were dancing. You didn't have to be a detective to notice. It was the exact same photo. Same tear in the corner of the image, like it had been cropped for maximum drama. That cat. The poor thing had apparently survived evictions, car wrecks, medical emergencies, and still had time to pose. At first, I laughed. Like an idiot. Thought maybe it was a fluke. But I started reverse searching that image. That cat had more gigs than I ever did. Showed up in 9 separate fundraisers across 3 states. One time the woman's name was Emily. Another time, Sasha. Once she was even a man named Devin. But the cat, always the same. That's when the weight hit me. I'd been played. Duped. Scammed like a gullible rookie with a too big heart. Now, I'm not some internet vigilante. I still print my boarding passes and think TikTok is a noise clock's make. But I wasn't going to let this slide. I saved the screenshots. Made a folder labeled Cat Scammer. My daughter later renamed it Operation Positively Busted. But at the time, I wasn't laughing. I started digging. Every Emily had a GoFundMe or Venmo or Cash App link. The stories changed, but the photos stayed. A terminal mom in Milwaukee. A flood victim in Georgia. A carjacked nanny in Austin. Same face, same cat, same manipulative magic. Now I'd been generous, but not stupid. I called one of the numbers listed under a post. Got a voicemail that said, "Hey, you've reached Shannon. If this is about my GoFundMe, bless you." Except, Shannon's post said her name was Kelly. Red flag number 37. I left a message. "Just wondering which name you prefer," I said. "Also, how's the cat?" No response. I didn't stop there. I shared my findings with my poker buddies. Thought maybe they'd jump in. But Frank said, "Jim, you sure you're not reading too much into it?" Was I? That night, I couldn't sleep. The idea that kindness, real, honest kindness, was being hijacked by online vultures, it gnawed at me. Like a stone in your shoe you just can't shake. So I went deeper. Created a spreadsheet. Columns for image matches, names, aliases, payment handles, donation totals. It was like chasing smoke with a butterfly net, but the patterns were there. Same photos. Same phrases. Same playbook. My daughter walked in while I was knee-deep in screenshots and asked if I'd joined QAnon. No, I said. Worse. I joined Facebook fraud busting. She didn't laugh. The part that burned? All the comments under those posts. "You're an angel, Emily. Sending love and prayers." Here's 20. Wish it could be more. Real people. Real generosity. Getting funneled into a black hole by someone with Photoshop and no shame. But I wasn't angry. Not yet. Not until I emailed the hosting platform. Their reply? A canned message. We take fraud seriously. Your report will be reviewed within 48 hours. That was 2 weeks ago. The scammer? Still fundraising. In fact, she'd upgraded her story. Now her sister had lupus and needed urgent care. New pic. Same damn cat. I printed every post. Taped them on my kitchen wall like a crime board. My daughter said I looked like I was auditioning for a Netflix docuseries. At least let me pick the soundtrack. I joked. But it wasn't funny anymore. The deeper I dug, the more obvious it became. This wasn't just one scammer. This was a factory. A sympathy sweatshop cranking out digital sob stories by the hour. Plug in a face, tweak the tail, add a cat. Sit back and collect. And people like me? We were the fuel. That's when it stopped being about $50. That's when I started thinking about what comes next. We're just getting started. What happens next will raise the stakes, the blood pressure, and maybe even your eyebrows. Stay tuned. The problem with seeing behind the curtain is, once you've seen it, you can't pretend the show's still real. And I had seen too much. I had names, payment handles, and enough screenshots to make a slideshow that could put the FBI to sleep. But now what? I wasn't a cop. I wasn't a hacker. I was just a guy with a grudge, a printer, and a really ticked-off sense of justice. I started emailing local news stations. You know, the ones that air feel-good stories about puppies being adopted and high school bands winning parades. I figured maybe one of them would bite. I packaged it all up in a folder. Charity scam, one cat, many lies. Sent it to 7 different producers. One replied, looks interesting. Do you have proof these are connected? Proof? Lady, I had diagrams that would make the CIA jealous. I sent everything. Got ghosted. Next, I tried the platforms. Again, same polite responses, same nothing. So I got bolder. I made a Facebook page, Catfished by Charity. Yeah, a little on the nose, but I was angry and not in the mood for subtlety. I posted side-by-sides, timelines, donation receipts, comments from real people who were heartbroken to learn the truth. The page took off faster than I expected. Within a week, over 1,000 followers. Most were people like me, older folks, good-hearted, tired of being made to feel like fools. Then came the messages. One woman said her church group had raised nearly $500 for Emily last fall. Another man swore he'd seen that same cat in a fundraiser where it supposedly saved a child from a fire. A woman from Nevada messaged, "That's my ex-roommate. Her name's not Emily. It's Carla. She used to stage these photos with borrowed animals." That was the tip of the iceberg. Turns out, Emily T. was just one face of many. The scam was run by a small group, at least 4 people using one shared hard drive, and a rotating cast of sob stories. The photos were taken in bulk and dropped into different profiles every week. I'd stumbled into a production house for pain. It would have made a great Netflix doc if it weren't so damn real. I reached out to the Nevada woman again, asked if she'd talked to someone. She said yes, but only anonymously. She was scared, said these folks had connections, knew how to disappear, knew how to make other people disappear online too. Posts wiped, accounts deleted, payment trails gone. I didn't sleep that night. Not out of fear. Out of fury. This wasn't some basement-dwelling loser with a cat and a Photoshop addiction. This was business. Dirty, soulless business. And I wasn't about to back down. We're on the edge now. What comes next will blow it all open. Stick around. This unraveling is just getting started. I wish I could tell you the final straw was something grand, like a dramatic face-off or a CNN interview. But no, it was a comment. A single line under yet another recycled photo. "You're the reason I still believe in people, Emily." That broke me. Not because it was wrong, but because it was real. Some poor soul, likely a kind-hearted woman with a second-hand laptop and a box of tissues on her kitchen table, was out there believing. Believing that her $20 meant hope for someone who didn't exist. And meanwhile, that same damn cat was back again, now with a cast on its leg and a new name, Rescue Kitty Max. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't just going to dig anymore. I was going to do something. Not just to stop one scammer, but to expose the whole twisted carnival. I started small. A Reddit thread. I titled it, "One Cat, 9 Lives, 50 Scams." It was part rant, part proof, part desperate plea for backup. I didn't expect much, maybe a few likes, a troll or two, maybe someone telling me to get a hobby. But then something happened. The comments rolled in. Quiet at first, then steady, then title. One woman from Kansas said she donated $300 to Emily after losing her own cat. A vet tech from Colorado swore she'd seen that image used in a charity auction. A former cybersecurity analyst, username Firewall Grandpa, offered to help dig deeper. And just like that, I had a team. Unpaid, unqualified, and very, very pissed off. We organized like retirees at a bingo night, spreadsheets, video calls, even a shared Google Drive. We called ourselves the Meow Patrol. Stupid? Absolutely. But when you've been played, irony becomes your best armor. Within a week, we'd traced over 70 fake fundraisers. Same cat, same woman, different names, different lies. All funneled into 4 bank accounts linked to the same PayPal email. One of our guys, Marvin from Tallahassee, flagged a LinkedIn profile that looked eerily familiar. Professional headshot. Same cheekbones. Digital outreach specialist, it said. Real name? Danielle M. Turney. Sounded innocent. She even had recommendations from fake colleagues praising her empathy and social listening skills. Cute. We compiled it all. Photos, links, payment data, testimonies, the whole 9 yards. We sent it to every fraud division we could think of, from GoFundMe to the FBI tip line. And we waited and waited. 3 weeks passed. One email came back. Thank you for your submission. This case does not currently meet our enforcement threshold. I had to read it twice to believe it. Enforcement threshold? Apparently, you can impersonate terminally ill women, defraud grieving pet owners, and milk thousands out of the lonely and kind. But unless the sum hits a magic number, you're just background noise. That's when I snapped. I wrote a blog post. Title, How to Scam America Legally. I published it under my real name, with screenshots and receipts. I didn't care anymore. If they wanted to sue me, fine, I'd frame the letter. The blog went viral. Thousands of shares. Comments in the thousands. Turns out, people don't like finding out they were duped. Even less so when the scammer is still cashing in. But it wasn't all support. Some folks called me bitter. Said I was ruining it for the real victims. One woman even wrote, "Maybe you should have minded your own business." Oh honey, if only you knew what business it had become. And then, the twist. An email landed in my inbox. No subject. No name. Just one line. You should stop. You're not the only one who can play this game. Charming. The address was a burner, but Marvin worked his digital magic. He traced the IP to a shared workspace in Tampa. Turns out, Danielle was operating from a rented desk at a digital marketing co-op. Real original. So I did what any modern-day retiree with a grudge would do. I booked a flight. Yes, really. I showed up on a Tuesday morning with a folder full of screenshots and the fire of a man who'd had just enough. The front desk girl looked confused when I asked for Danielle Turney, but she buzzed someone anyway. And there she was. Shorter than I expected. Nicer clothes. No cat. I introduced myself. Jim Corwin. I'm the man whose poker group made your fake fundraiser go viral. She blinked, smiled, tilted her head. I'm sorry, do I know you? I laid out the folder. Photos, bank info, comments from grieving donors. She didn't flinch. Sir, I work in branding. I have no idea what this is. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't just a scammer. She was professional. I leaned in. You've got 3 options. Walk out of here, disappear, and never touch another sympathy dollar again. Or this goes to every news station between here and Indiana. Or, and this one's my favorite, you sit down and tell me everything. She chose option 3. And let me tell you, what she shared peeled my brain back like an onion. There were teams. Freelancers, copywriters, photo editors, people who crafted fake sob stories by the dozen. AI-generated photos, fake medical records, even scripts for how to respond to skeptical donors. It was a cottage industry of digital grief. And it was lucrative. I asked her why she did it. She shrugged. Because it works. She wasn't ashamed. Not even close. People don't want truth, she said. They want to feel generous. We just give them the stage. I left that office angry. Not just at her, but at the whole damn system. The platforms that let it happen. The algorithms that boost the drama. The silence that follows when someone cries foul. But I wasn't leaving empty-handed. I went home, updated the blog, and this time I named names. And something shifted. Local news picked it up. Then national. Interviews. Podcasts. A segment on Dateline. Retired postman takes on online scam empire. My poker buddies couldn't stop laughing. Frank even made t-shirts. And donations? They came flooding in. Only this time, I redirected them. Not to me. Not to a cat. But to a verified victims fund. One that screens every applicant and shows exactly where the money goes. Because the truth is, generosity isn't the problem. Exploitation is. And as long as we let scammers wear halos, we'll keep feeding the wolves thinking we're saving lambs. But not anymore. Not on my watch.